Yep. Okay, today is our regular budget and finance meeting at Town Hall, November 30th, 2021, 2 p.m. And in attendance is Storm DiCostanzo, and Deb Kelly, and myself, Christian Petrikonis. So I'll just read the notice. Until further notice, the Corporation of Harpers Ferry governing and deliberative bodies will hold its meetings and our hearings virtually via Zoom, which provides for public participation during public comment period when applicable and when posted on the agenda. Alternatively, the public may watch by YouTube video live stream or listen by telephone. These options comply with the West Virginia Open Governmental Meetings Act. Okay, call to order. Approval of the agenda. We want to make some adjustments.
Yeah, except that
The mayor's not here. There's 3 items that he wants to sit in on, which is 4, 5, and 6.
Well, I bet we'll get through the first ones.
Okay, yeah, let's do it, and then, okay.
I think we will leave it the way it is, and we'll just cruise on through the first ones.
I move that we accept the agenda as is.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Okay. Passed. All right, unfinished business. Hopefully we'll fly through these. This is the discussion action regarding the street lighting situation with Potomac Edison or First Energy and the purchase of LED Edison light bulbs. Maybe I talked a little bit about it, but I spoke with Thomas at length on Tuesday. Thomas is with our contact with the Potomac Edison, and he had ordered 2 bulbs, special LEDs. These are $50 a piece. These are high-end, high output, about 2,400 lumens. And right now we're running, many of the replacement bulbs are running about 650. They're very, very light, and they're not probably bright enough. So we're going to try these 2 out. We're going to do one on 7370 Fillmore Street. And the other one's going to be in the park, Pavilion Park, right in front of Laurel Drake's house, 59, whatever it is, 595 or whatever her house is. So those are the 2 spots they'll put them in. They did take the 2 bulbs that we had here, the Edison bulbs, and they said they can't use it. They're indoor bulbs. They will not last very long outdoors.
So the ones that they purchased, they're rated for commercial outdoor use, and the light is more diffuse than the ones that.
Yeah, they're actually right. They're 40%. Yeah, that's a good question. A good thing. They're 40% spread, way more than those spots we have. What they got were spots basically purchased at Lowe's, just to put something in the sockets. So.
Do they mention when they go up?
Huh?
Did they mention?
No. It's funny. All of a sudden it happens. I did also talk to him at length about the 2 light fixtures we have up on Swan's property, and I asked them to remove those 2 lights. Though they have a coordinator who works with Swan. So but I should visit with my contact, which is Laurel Zemansky, yeah, and I'll talk with her to make sure, hey, Laura, we're going to take these 2 light fixtures out. I did confirm with the lighting company that there are fixtures, but their job is to always maintain them, and also that the detector for the sensor, always that's theirs.
Well, it's good to have the open communication line.
Yeah. And we'll remove the Cobra 50, which is out on Fillmore Street closer to me. That light they'll take one of those hilltop lights, move it over, and then bring the extra one to here, this location, Town Hall. So I text them all that information. So hopefully they'll do it.
Awesome, thank you.
We will have to see how they go. If we like them, and we may have to purchase the bulbs. So could be a budget item. I don't think we should get into that today, and I don't think we need any action at this point until we see these new bulbs.
Awesome.
Okay, next item, discussion action regarding waterworks sludge removal request for proposal. I don't know what more you wanted to go over on that. I put it in there, you mentioned it.
Oh, did I?
Yeah,
Well, I think where we left it was, we're going to revisit it for bidding in the spring.
Right,
So does that require any action now?
no.
okay,
I'm not sure why that was.
that's okay.
It might have, I don't know, it might have been, I don't know.
Oh, I'm glad you put it there because it's
Yeah.
a safe thing in case we need to talk. I'd rather throw more stuff on the agenda that we
Do we
can
wanna-
get through.
You can keep it on there until we're ready to vote.
Oh, I'm gonna
You wanna
keep
do
it-
that because it'll become part of, once we get the platform set, then we're gonna wanna just report that we're in the process and et cetera.
For the purpose of our agenda, do we want to have a standing item
I think it's a good idea.
and
So
maybe
we
not
don't
sludge?
lose- We don't wanna lose track of it, and we wanna give ample time for bidding, et cetera.
And do we want to extend it beyond sludge, but like a standing item for waterworks related RFPs?
Yeah, it can't hurt, I guess.
And then
Because
under
we
that,
will
we can have
have that
bullet
going
points.
on. Yeah, we will have those going on. Just as a side note, I did, get in touch with all the people and give them basically it's your verbiage, storm, the editing that you had done on based on mine. It's telling them why everything was changed back and just got one response saying, didn't understand why it was incomplete, and I explained, and whatever. I think that if for some reason we don't have a platform ready, by the time we do this again, we may want to have just a checklist at the end saying, did you include?
Yeah.
Because just might be helpful. So,
And I would also suggest with the two vendors that we did hear from, as a courtesy, next time, we alert them,
well, I think all of them.
all of them, but I mean, they get a little special attention for the fact that they did submit bids, just to make sure.
Well, we can't give special attention
Well,
anyway, but.
Well,
But we'll get, I don't think there's anything wrong with that original bid list getting an alert.
yes,
Right?
Okay,
that's not favoring at all. It's
okay,
public information.
all right, so we'll leave that one. Okay, number 3, discussion on updates from the purchase protocol committee and process development. We don't have to do that now. We can.
Yeah, we don't, no, we don't need to do anything specific now, just that we're meeting on Thursday.
Thursday, yep.
And, we do have to reschedule our thing with InfoBid. Are you on that?
Yeah, I emailed the contact there to say, please send dates around so that we can have, and this is for our second training session so that we can bring
Right.
that system online.
Somehow it got scheduled for right now.
Half of me's over there right now. It's fascinating.
Oh, yes, okay.
Everybody experience. Okay.
All right, now new business. We'll go flip through these pretty fast. Approval of special minutes. By the way, I looked at them, both of them, but I wasn't able to save them to send them. So I have them up and
Yeah.
I'm fine with them.
Yeah, well, 2 of us are quorum for this. And I looked at them.
So you convert them to somehow, so they're in read mode only.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is, but I can convert them, I'm sure.
Let me look, maybe you can fix it. So here's one of them up, and I tried to save it, but it wouldn't save. Wait, I got a mouse. You do that. Okay, well, good. Okay, so it's just a little, all right. So I'll make a motion on this. I move to accept the special meeting minutes of October 28th, 2021. And I'll do both. And the approval of special meeting minutes of November 2nd, 2021.
I second.
Discussions? All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay. Mayor, we're getting there. Okay, we're almost to your spots. You were gonna change the agenda. You weren't here, so we just went with our regular agenda. Okay, so the discussion action regarding the Flip Flop Festival funding request.
Right, so basically, I think what's going on there is that it's $1,500 funds out of economic development. That was what was included in the original request for the fiscal 22 calendar. However, Craig indicated that the scope of the project itself had changed, and so that's why I said probably a good idea to run it past budget and finance. So, you all got an email from him
I read
about that.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, I read it.
So any thoughts on,
I would leave it alone,
But
but
it sounds like the money is the same, it's just being repurposed and it's not creating an additional burden and it's still within the scope of the project. So,
right? And I think I think what we want to do is just sort of have, you know, we are asking of the Old Town Christmas people and then really anybody else on here to provide documentation of what they've paid, either with a copy of the check or with an invoice or some documentation that says this is what we're paying or this is what this person is charging.
mhm.
And I do think we should request that as documentation to what we've supported and leave it at that amount. If it comes in underneath it, that's fine.
Would it help if I did prepare a motion to officially reallocate it? Or would you feel like it's not necessary?
I think you can just,
How much?
well, yeah, it might be a good idea to do that because that way we don't have to meet with this item again as our committee.
Right.
And then they can go straight to town council.
yeah, I think that's true, but I would also just include a notation in there that payment will be based off of supporting documentation for the itemized parts of this. I'm not speaking.
Yeah,
Right, so itemized documentation must be received.
Right, in order for payment to be made.
Yeah.
And we're at the time.
Proof of payment or however they're gonna do it, we can either pay someone directly or we can reimburse them. If we're reimbursing them, we need proof of payment.
And you probably know, but in the old days, we would just give them a check, whatever it was.
We can do
We
that.
can't do that anymore. You know, it's $1,500 right here, your $1,500. Who knows what it went for? The state, I agree with.
We can't do that.
Right, so it's fair to
That's-
say that we're reallocating up to the original
Yes.
1,500.
Mhm.
Out of 402 economic development.
Okay, I think I'm not ready for this one. Okay, I'm gonna need to withdraw this if I can. I move to recommend that town council reallocate up to the $1,500 previously allocated for the Flip Flop Festival to help cover the cost of guest speakers and music. It will come out of 402 Economic Development. Itemized proof of payment must be provided for payment to be made.
There you go. That's perfect.
Beautiful.
Yeah, great. That was a good one. I'll second it. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. All right, passes. All right, beautiful, beautiful motion there.
All right.
Really good. Okay, now we're going to the mayor's territory on number 4. Discussion action regarding the annual employee holiday recognition program. So, Mayor, if you want to visit on it.
Annual Employee Holiday Recognition Program.
So in the past, they've given
Oh,
for the holiday.
Yeah. okay.
For the person watching at home, Mayor Vaughn is right behind the
Yeah,
laptop.
For the throngs,
Yes,
this issue came up with an auditor, correct, Debbie?
The state auditor's office,
State Auditor's Office.
for training that we received. Yeah.
Right. And previously, what the town did was employees received a $25 gift certificate. And they were distributed, I guess, prior to the holidays.
Mhm.
And the state auditors recommended that, although that's not illegal, their opinion was that it was a little cumbersome, I guess, to track, Debbie. Is that what
Well,
the
there have been
instances?
reported it throughout the state over time. There have been instances of fraud committed with this type of transaction. And so they did not really look with favor upon it.
Right.
this mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was more appearance factor. Like I said, it's not illegal to do it. But when you have a state auditor that says, hey, you may want to reconsider this, there have been some problems in the past, maybe in some other municipalities, not that any of them occurred here. And they just felt that we should consider other alternatives, I guess. And there's very few of those that the state of West Virginia, I think, allows for employee recognition and a couple other things. But one of the things that we came across, is this where you want me to go with it?
Yeah.
One of the things that we came across, and what's the title of it?
It's the annual increment policy.
It's called the annual increment policy. And this is a longevity issue. And we had discussions, Debbie and I, this morning with Mr. Sayer, the town attorney. The city of Martinsburg utilizes this program, and they are going to send us the document. It is within West Virginia code. The code citing is at the top of the program that Debbie has in front of her. And basically it works like this. You have to be employed a minimum of 3 years in a municipality for this to take effect for an employee. If you are a full-time employee, let's say Debbie is working here as a full-time employee, and she's been in paid full-time employee for 10 years. She's met the 3-year threshold, so now she will she'll become part of this program. And what will happen is that for every year of full-time employment that you have with the municipality, it's a $60 stipend that you get July 1st, the beginning of the fiscal year. So with Debbie met the 3-year requirement, and she's been working here for 10 years. So she would, on July 1st of this year, coming year, she would get $600. Next year, she would get $660. The year after that, she would get whatever that is, my math. So if she ends up working here, let's say 20 years and 20 consecutive years, she would get July 1st, $1,200. It's a way of, you can't discriminate. In other words, I'll give it to Debbie, but I'm not going to give it to Storm.
It's not performance-based.
No, it has nothing to do with
seniority.
Yeah, it's seniority. And I think the impetus on this is the state wants to encourage people to remain, gainfully employed, have pride in their work and the municipality or the state function that they work for. This excludes elected officials. There is a formula that if you are less than full-time, let's say you're a half-time employee, there is a formula that you apply, because if Storm was a 20-hour-a-week employee, Debbie is a 40-hour-a-week employee, and they both had 10 years in their positions, it would not be fair for Storm to get the same $60 that Debbie gets plus 10 years, which would be $600 each. So there is a formula, a regression thing, that Storm's would be less than Debbie's. In fact, with the way I just set it up, instead of getting $600, he would get $300. So that's how that works. There's formulas in that packet that Debbie has. I think it's something that we should consider. It's a smoother alternative than giving an employee a 25-hour gift certificate to Target or Home Depot or wherever, or something like that. So we have that front, and then Debbie asked the issue of merit pay, because in that packet that Debbie has, the term merit pay is mentioned twice. Now, when I previously served here, I was advised by an individual working here that the state did not approve, West Virginia does not approve rewarding employees for going above and beyond by receiving an outstanding performance rating, by doing, that there was no way to reward such employees. Well, that's not true. There is a merit system that the state has approved, and it's tied to a performance rating, and you have to have an assessment table. So if Christian is an employee here and there's 10 evaluation areas and the 5 is the highest you can get in each area, and let's say he got 10-5 ratings, and the bottom rating would be outstanding performance rating for this past year. You come up with your policy, and you can award the employee a monetary stipend for an outstanding performance rating based on merit only, not based on anything else. Mr. Sayer says that exists in Martinsburg, and he's going to send us the documentation and their policy on how they reward RE, outstanding employees for a commendable job and service to the municipality. So I think it's something that we should consider, and I've always said, I think everybody around here agrees at this table, that the most important asset that we have are our employees, not our cars and trucks and all that stuff. It's our employees. And if somebody is doing above and beyond the call of duty, and they've had an accretion of duties and responsibilities and just doing an outstanding job, I think that they should be adequately rewarded for that. I know Storm being in the private sector, and you too, Kristen, there's certain benefits that in the private sector exist. Unfortunately, in the public sector, they don't exist. But this is one exception. And I think that we could easily implement this, and it would be done objectively, and then according to certain standards and hierarchy of job tasks. And we'll see what Martinsburg looks like when Mr. Sayer sends that to us, along with the longevity program that Martinsburg has. So that's my, I guess, pitch. I think that we should seriously take a look at both of these when they come in, make some minor adjustments to make them appropriate for us. And then let's go forward, consider going forward with instituting such program or programs. So I don't know, Debbie, if you want to add anything.
The only thing I want to add is that with the way this state policy for the annual increment is written, while there's proration based on not only how many hours in each month an employee works, and that can change over time. If you are under halftime, then you are not eligible.
Correct.
And then I guess so that's really the biggest thing in that first one. The only other thing I want to mention about that, and then in both cases, we would need to adopt a policy, so that then that just makes it part of how we handle that. And the reason that all dovetails into this item, even though this talks about holiday compensation or holiday recognition, is that I think what you're saying is you prefer to not have any gift giving at the holiday, but just let people know we are considering other options for.
And the state cap is $25.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's like nothing.
It is nothing.
I think this other program, personally, from what I'm hearing, is going to be much more interesting to the employee than.
Correct. Now, I can only think of, Debbie, you would know for sure, but we only have probably 2 employees that may not be eligible. We have 1 police officer who only works 1 day a week.
We have more than
And then
that.
we
So-
have, we have the OCO.
Right, the OCO would not be eligible. We have 1 officer well, in both cases, the officers who are not working halftime right now have worked more halftime or more in the past. So that's a thing that I have to research to make sure I understand
Whether they're
that
eligible.
whether they're
Right,
eligible
right.
for those years each year and
Right.
going forward. So that's a thing I have to clarify. We also have one who transferred in from another municipality. And I think the way I'm reading this is if that organization was using this and that person was also in the retirement program, than all years of service.
So it's not for the municipality, like service in any state capacity?
Well, I think, and
Well,
again,
that was the
I want to
state
look at
one.
how Martinsburg addresses that. But in here, if you are carried in from another agency, then your eligibility becomes active, not necessarily after 3 years, but at the
Oh, I see.
first year.
But you're not, we wouldn't
But
be
we're
carrying
not
20 years of
responsible
their.
for carrying 20
Right.
years of another agency,
right.
no. But, so I have to check on that with one new person. Yeah, and I did just some preliminary numbers on, and these are preliminary because there are some people who have changed how many hours they've worked over time that they've worked here. But in total, with everyone that we have right now, everyone was in this program. We're looking at impact to both budgets together of just under 5,000.
Is that for both, would that be, and again, I know it's provisional, both for,
Water,
I'm sorry, for both of these programs, the merit pay and.
no, this doesn't have anything to do with the merit pay.
Right,
This is just this annual.
The
increment.
July one.
Right.
correct.
And that's just based on what I can sort out from this policy that we have in front of us. So, anyway, just, and that doesn't include payroll taxes or anything like that. That's more I have to investigate.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like it is worth looking at more. I will say that it's kind of tenuously tied to the holiday program. That it's gone from a $25 gift certificate to, something much bigger. But that said, if our finances bear it, I see the value in being able to attract and retain employees with programs like these. But even still, I don't have a very clear picture of where our finances are in relation to prior periods, and also in terms of projections, like what's the forward carry going to be. But it sounds like that's what the work to be done is to look at that.
Yeah, but I would say in general, anything that helps retention is very important, especially in this day and age. I mean, you lose an employee today, you look at the effort we're going through to get the town clerk.
Mhm.
How many hours have we put in to hire a person?
Mhm.
And I don't think we want to go through this very often.
Well, I think
So-
that other thing is I think that in the private sector in particular, there is a lot of emphasis on the holiday period as being a time of reward. You get year-end bonuses, you get hams, you get whatever you get. People take you out to dinner and all that kind of business, and that doesn't ever happen in the public sector.
Mhm.
And so I think, and then like you said, $25 is the monetary limit. So even switching from giving a actual gift to $25 still holds that down there. And so I think this is an attempt to be more meaningful.
Mhm.
No, I agree. And it sounds like this is what is being proposed, is to flesh it out in a way that we can assess it in the
Right.
full context, with the benefit that we keep in mind, that it is a good thing.
Right,
for
so
our
normally
employees.
what we'd be doing in this meeting in previous years is approving the $25 gift card.
That's
But we're
right.
not doing that. So that would
Right.
be that proposal not to do that, but to further investigate this policy, annual increment policy as in the coming year.
All right.
Should we put some communication out to the employees that, we're working on something in lieu of this, so they're not expecting,
I think let's just wait and see what we get from Martinsburg first, okay? I think as a municipality, if employees are dependent for survival on this $25 gift certificate, we've got some serious issues in this municipality.
Well, the other way to manage it would be to revisit the pay scales,
Yeah.
But, I don't feel like this program is analogous to what it seems like an employee thing would be, which is kind of a nice little thing. That said, I do feel like this is worthy to look at and a good incentive.
But
I mean-
I think what Christian is saying is that most employees are going to probably anticipate that would be what they would be getting because that's what they've received in the past. So how do we handle that in a way that's gracious and yet they understand why we're doing it?
we'll get them something.
And so if.
Cookies from
Well,
Boulder's Day.
certainly just, even a holiday card, that, acknowledges them, is something that, but, like you said, if we look at the policy, we might be able to know more by the time the holiday gets here. We
Right.
don't need to have a special meeting to discuss, but at least, so I think that's what you're saying.
Okay, so is there any action at this point, or is we just
I
already
think we have to
saying?
wait for the.
No, I don't think there's any,
Just,
storm.
the only action is not, it's not a motion, but just to say yes, you know.
We're
let's-
gonna wait for what Martinsburg is
Right.
doing.
Right.
In the minutes, it will say, you know, getting more information to see about pursuing.
Correct.
Okay, the next item, and is discussion action regarding 2021 employee handbook holiday pay
Hmm.
policy, section 4B, page 12.
Yeah,
I looked at it, by the way, and I'm surprised at how little information was there. We don't even define what a holiday is.
it's very confusing, and it's even more confusing for Debbie to do the paperwork and then for me to approve it. And then when I turn to the guidance from the handbook, there is no guidance. So what we have decided, and I instructed Debbie, until we get a clear handle on this, we are to err on the side of the employee. I mean, I think in the past, there's a couple different ways, I guess, Debbie, that it was being interpreted or something. And I think that until we get this wording straight so that there's no question in Debbie's mind, what does Billy Bob get when he works, has to come in on Thanksgiving for 4 hours and he's an 8-hour-a-day employee? How is that treated? And my position until then is that whatever the treatment is, we're going to err on the side of the employee until we come up with a better way of resolving this issue that is silent on a lot of things, that we are just ad hocing it, and that's no way to reward or to pay holiday pay. We have to have a clear definition on which way to go. And Debbie deals with this more than anybody. And unfortunately, when she brings the issue up to another supervisor, let's say, and another area in the town, it's difficult for the supervisor. Well, we've always done it this way, you know, but that doesn't make it the correct way. So
Right.
we have to be certain that everything, all the T's are crossed properly and legally.
Has the town attorney been consulted?
Pardon me?
Has the town attorney been consulted?
I don't know. Has that occurred?
You know, not on this.
Yeah.
I looked something up on this, and I have from the Society of Human Resources Management.
Sure.
You can take this 2-page thing with what I copied off. This could be our new policy. I mean, first of all, we don't even define the holiday. What's a holiday? You should be listing every holiday that is applicable.
Yeah, our company has a policy and we do that.
And then you define what's eligible, then it just is really good. I got to give you a copy of it, but what it says for non-exempt employees who are eligible for paid holidays, but who may be required to work on a company holiday, will be paid at least 1.5 times their regular rate of pay for the hours worked in addition to holiday pay.
In addition to
In
holiday.
addition to holiday pay.
Right.
And I got thinking about it. First I was a little, I don't think that's right. Then I got thinking about it. If you got a person it's on Friday and it's, they work there 40 hours, well, that's a holiday, let's say it's on Friday, then you're going to give them their regular pay for 8 hours. And then you make them work, because you're making work, they're not.
Right, they're not actually getting holiday pay.
Right.
They're only getting their holiday.
So you
pay.
got to give them like overtime in my book. And I think that this is a very reasonable line.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of how it's done now.
Okay.
We have an employee, let's say, that's making $10 an hour.
Yeah.
And that employee has to come in and he works at the water plant. He has to make water for his 8 hours. He makes $10 an hour. The guy next to him in the locker next to him at the water plant, he's off that day. He doesn't, and he gets paid the $10 an hour for the 8 hours that he's not working. He's at home eating turkey. The other employee is required to go to the water plant and work during that same holiday. How he is compensated he gets the $10 an hour for each hour, okay, the same as the guy that's home, so they're even there, but then he only gets $5 an hour more, so it's time and a half. And the kicker is that our police officers get double time and a half.
That's what this is.
Yeah,
That's
police
double
officers,
and a half time, and I think that's
And
what it-
I think it should be across the
I
board
think it should
myself.
be across the
Yeah.
board.
I don't think any reasonable person would disagree with that policy, but I think it's important to have a clear definition of holidays, and that can be very tricky.
Well, I think what we use is the West Virginia
It says
declared
right here,
holiday.
the town follows holiday schedule in the state of West Virginia.
Okay, so those are like,
Yeah.
Well, yes, except that they do change a little bit sometimes
Well-
from year to year, and they're often,
What's the Friday?
the
after
trick about the state holidays is that they often make a last minute holiday
Yeah.
declaration for like a half a day or something. Yet we do not automatically fall underneath that. Then once that's declared, even if it's like gonna take effect the next hour, the mayor has to say, okay, that's what we're doing. It's very peculiar.
I think we need to change that. I think we need to just list the days. I don't care what the state does, they have an extra day. That's putting too much of a burden on our organization.
well, I think
To,
is if it's something that we can turn to and look at as an authority, then I think it's
I
valid.
like a list. Then it's in the employee book, it's written in here. Here's you're getting Christmas off, you're getting, Thanksgiving off, you're getting Labor Day off. And they know.
I don't know.
I used to get that when I worked in all the companies I worked. Every time January rolled around, I get the dates, it's gonna be off, and I mark my master calendar, my work calendar.
Is there a state site where this would be published, where basically, if it came up and there were a change, that it would be very simple and easy to verify?
But this year
That's not accessible.
But this year, Governor Justice has added days for the state employees. That's what she's saying. And how do we?
Well, then maybe the thing is that it's set on a certain date each year, what the holidays are for that year. And then once a year, it's adjusted based on the snapshot of what is there at that time. And that way, we're not having to worry about, or not having to deal with that situation of verifying where you find the information, and that there's a central authority about what the holidays are, but that it's flexible enough that year to year, it's not just static.
Well, I think the issue too, Storm, in addition to the declaration of what's holiday and what isn't, is the actual compensation package that goes with that. And that's what you're talking about, Christian, with that paper in front of you. I think it's crazy that Storm works at the water plant and he has to work Christmas Day for 8 hours. He gets the same pay that Debbie gets while she's sitting at home watching a football game.
No, I agree. It should be on.
Plus a half more,
Yeah.
plus 1/2
I
more.
agree.
I'm
It should
doing
be.
it, whatever, like police department's gonna think that's how the whole, as a matter of fact, we should have consistency on that.
Yeah.
Right, so if by default, without having to work, you're at, 1 or 1.5 times, that you add another to that to get what, if you're
Right.
working on the holiday.
So in terms of wording I think it makes sense to say that you're paid for the allotted hours that you get for a holiday at straight time. And if you're required to work, you get paid for the hours that you work at time and a half.
Yes,
Correct.
so you'd
So
be
let's
paid
say-
2.5 times
Correct.
if you are working for the
Right,
holiday.
so but then let's also take another scenario. Let's say that you normally are allotted 8 hours, like you normally work an 8-hour shift. And so you would then get 8 hours of holiday pay.
Right,
And let's say that you work on holiday 10 hours.
Right.
So you're gonna get 8 hours of holiday pay. And then you're gonna get 10 hours at time and a half. Is that,
so you'll get time and a half of what you actually worked.
is that how you
Yep,
see it?
yeah, that's
Okay.
actually-
So I think that makes it cleaner to say, everyone gets paid for their allotted, for their hours of, their holiday pay at straight time.
Right.
Any hours that you're required to work on that holiday, you get paid at time and a half, in addition to the holiday day pay.
Right, and the flip side to the Debbie's example with a 10-hour person, we have an individual on our payroll who works every single holiday, and he comes in for 2 hours and does his thing in the lower town. Okay, without mentioning who this is and what he does, but we all know what that is. But it only takes him 2 hours to do that circuit on High Street, Potomac Street. And then he goes home. Okay, so, and my feeling is that when he does that 2 hours on a holiday, he gets his standard 8-hour holiday pay plus 2 hours of time and a half
Right.
on top of the 8 hours.
Right.
And just so we know, there's both extremes. There's the one who works under the numbers, and then Debbie's example where
Right.
he or she exceeded the
Right.
8-hour.
So I think it's still, I think the wording still stands that everybody gets paid for their standard holiday pay, period. If you work on a holiday, you get paid a time and a half for whatever hours it is that you work on that day, whether it's 1 hour or 15 hours.
Correct.
Okay. Do we want to make that, it should, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so it would be all employees receive holiday pay at the regular rate and time. Or rate and hours worked, or how would you say?
On the holiday.
Holiday pay at,
At their regular pay rate.
and then employees working on holidays receive their regular holiday pay plus their hours worked at time and a half.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And then also, do we want to put in, and this should probably be run, well, maybe it doesn't need to be run by, but the issue of what holidays are holidays.
Well, I think that's covered in there strong when we talk about the state. And it's,
Well, it does say the town follows the holiday schedule of the state.
right.
I do totally, believe me, it is a headache every time we have to deal with it. But for right now,
The real critical piece is that paragraph you just read.
So we should
I'm
make
not
it,
saying we shouldn't, with a further overhaul of the handbook, deal with how we're gonna establish holidays that we accept. But I'm not sure that that's not a bigger egg that we need to deal with right in this moment.
okay, so let's-
Yeah.
we should make a motion to do this, because I think we're in agreement.
To replace, let's see,
This is,
so replace, any non-exempt one. Okay, so replacing sentence 3 and 4 with what you wrote.
or it could be what I had here.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that. I mean, you gave it
Well,
to me.
I'll just, I say, it's a non-exempt employee.
Employees who are eligible for paid holidays, but who may be required to work on a company holiday will be paid at 1.5 times their regular rate of pay for the hours worked in addition to the holiday.
that's fine,
Yeah, it's great.
that's fine,
Yeah, you want to make a motion?
okay.
Okay,
And so you're
That's
gonna
words
be
again?
replacing, you're gonna replace,
Sounds great.
you're replacing section 4B, sections 3 and 4.
that's-
Christian, read that again.
okay. Non-exempt employees who are eligible for paid holidays, who may be required to work on a holiday, company holiday, will be paid at 1.5 times their regular rate of pay for the hours worked in addition to the holiday pay.
Okay, remove the word company.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah, the company, I just, and what I like about this term is this has all legally been,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's take a picture of it for the minutes.
Is that making sense to you guys?
yes,
But this is from the HR professionals, and we can't get more, so. I move to recommend to town council a change in the holiday day policy on section 4B, sentences 3 and 4, replacing sentences 3 and 4 from the employee handbook of 2021 to add the following sentence. Non-exempt employees who are eligible for paid holidays who may be required to work on a holiday will be paid at 1.5 times their regular rate of pay for the hours worked in addition to their holiday pay.
I said,
Discussion? All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. That's really important because it's so ambiguous. I read that and I was like, oh, over, whoa, what do you say? I mean,
Totally wrong. It's just, it was not clear at all. So,
no.
Yep.
Okay, we'll work on other stuff, but that was,
Yep. That takes care of our immediate.
yeah, and I don't think it's gonna be a massive budget issue at this time,
Right.
but what we have to do is fair for the employees. And I really like what you said is we need to go over and above for our employees on, just to be fair until we had the policy. So we've already discussed. Okay. All right, so that's 5. Okay, 4 and 5. Okay, now section number 6, discussion and action regarding fringe benefit policy for town employees.
Okay, so this was just in the embryo stage. But this is another item that came up from the training with the state auditor's office in that. So I'm just kind of preparing your minds for this. I'm doing research and trying to figure out how it works accounting wise, how it works policy wise. But the state has pretty much made a declaration that, you know, they're adopting the same policies that the federal government is adopting with regard to fringe benefits, and that is that anything that you supply to an employee for clothing, that is, whether it has an imprint on it or not, if it is wearable, you know, outside of the office, like you could wear it to the grocery store, then it is a fringe benefit and it needs to be counted as taxable income. And so the example that you want to keep put in your mind about this, and this is really the item that changed the floor on this policy, is medical scrubs. Medical scrubs have become fashionable. And so who knows if you are turning it in for reimbursement, whether or not, you know, it's really for that, or is it because you like the pattern and you're going to wear it to a party? So that's, you know, so we need to get into deeper into how we define this, what the state accepts. We're going to run it through the lawyer, and I have to, and we typically purchase those things, and then the employee receives them. And so then when the employee leaves, you want them back? How does that work? Because it has an imprint on it. And you know, what about like just boots, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't believe this has anything to do with police uniforms, so put that out of your mind. But other items, and I don't know that it's necessarily going to have an impact financially on the employee. It's just going to become, for the most part, I mean, it's going to become part of their income, which becomes taxable.
Right.
But it's not like we're asking them to pay for it, I don't believe. And so again, I'm just in the starting stages of it, and I just wanted to bring it forward.
So it's potential changes relating to, what you say,
Uniforms and.
uniforms
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
related attire.
Okay, I got it. Cool. There are not too many people like that in town, so.
Yeah. Well, we don't have a
I can only
hospital.
think of a few. The plant, the water plant,
Yeah.
and our maintenance department, and
I guess if,
Well, for the most part, you know, those guys are supplied with t-shirts and vests, and when they go off the job, technically, those items should come off because they're not representing the town when they're at the grocery store or when they're doing a job for their neighbor.
right.
And so, and that's where the blurriness comes in.
Well, there's blurriness, like if you have a side gig where you're doing some sort of maintenance work that
Right.
you could be using your,
Right.
you know, that could be.
And you know, it could, so anyway, there's a couple of issues there, but anyway, with regard to the fringe benefit is what came up at the state auditor's office.
Yeah.
We'll certainly have some of this, I believe we have to address.
right. Okay, good. So we'll move on from that one, but that's to come back. That's a returning.
Yes.
Returning. Get that on the agenda for next time. Okay. Number 7, discussion and action regarding financial report changes for town council.
Yeah, and I think I already brought this up at the town council just for informational purposes, but this is just to advise that we're going to include in the December town council financial reports, not only the financial reports for
Right.
October closing, but also a list of the disbursements that were made in November,
Correct.
right? And that kind of dovetails into some of the things that we've got to go over in ad hoc procurement, so I'm not gonna get into that. But that was just a formality here to say that you all are blessing that and whatever. I don't think you really need to.
Okay. All right, 8 and 9 are actually kind of similar, but discussion and action regarding improving the monthly police department report to town council. You know, I've been in, I mean, the mayor's been council much longer than me, but I've seen this same report year after year. It's just a chart with all these
That's the big long list.
long list of numbers, and it's important to see that. I'm not denying that, but I never I had context with it. I had no idea how it's trending, whether I think we can do better than that. And I did talk a little bit with Deb about this, and maybe instead of a monthly report on this, but maybe on a quarterly basis, we get more of a better picture.
Of the whole department.
The whole department.
I think that's the key. If you want to have an idea of how you're trending with, perhaps your potential income, but as well as your expenses. Because this is a public service that's being provided. It's not
I'm a huge fan of that kind of tracking, and also ideally see it year over year, just so you can see, you know, that's how you get the big change. Of course, the past 3 years, everything has been upside down, but that's helpful too.
Well, it will always be upside down for the police department because the police department is offering the service to the community.
Oh, no, upside down in terms of during COVID, it's changed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everything's
Oh, yeah,
topsy-turvy, but comparing year over year will tell you.
Yes.
And it's also our largest budget item. I mean, come on, we got it, you know, and I want to make sure that they're worth it. I want people to understand that they're worth it.
And this is actually one of the core things I do for my business, so I'm happy to help with doing that. A large part of it is always comparing apples to apples, and that can be tricky if the information that comes through year to year is different.
I mean, I think we just need to figure out what it is that you want to see. The financial reports that you see, that you get now, do not have the detail of expenses in the police department and in the other departments, as a matter of how the last council wanted it, and then this council sort of stayed along with that. I can always change that, but you're also looking for historical data. And again,
Well, I think we're moving on to a separate topic. If we're talking about the police department, maybe I'm misunderstanding.
I think we need to have a more clear formula of what it is that you're looking for and why you're looking for it.
Okay.
So,
Right, well, I can talk
keep
to,
in mind that it's public service and that it will always cost.
Oh, yeah.
No,
I mean,
of course.
insurance, I have no problem with the insurance, with the police department. It's just, our public needs to understand it's like an insurance policy. You gotta have it. It's there to protect us, reduce risk in our community. And I just wanna make sure that, you know, they're doing a good job, and we have to see it by numbers.
yeah, if we're moving on to discussion about the
Maybe
general.
not, okay, not comparing. Let me give it, because it's not a business.
No, and if we're talking now more generally, I actually don't have a purpose for it other than for good decisions to be made. And what a good decision will be will depend on so many factors. It's not a business, but if you're looking at, and I know that this is part, Deb, of what you do with the CPA firm, but that I found it so useful and interesting in the report that was produced in 2011 that showed across 10 years that it provides a good picture of how the town functions and what it does. So it's not about looking for any particular thing. And the audit report that came out was the level of information that I think is super useful. Like what proportion of what we are spending is, you know, how much of the income is coming from parking? Like that tells us something. How much is coming from B&O tax? How much of our total amount of expenditures and revenue is going towards public safety? That can help inform us. Are we spending too much? Are we spending too little? And it's only when you see the trend that you can really understand and appreciate it, knowing that it's not an automatic thing. It's not a formula you're applying when you look at the numbers. It's a tool to help you evaluate. And also when you see it that way, I know most people, when they look at a bunch of numbers, it means nothing. Like some people can't. And when it's, but if you're able to distill it into charts that are accurate, unbiased, that they're not leading to anything, but that it can help people who aren't as familiar with numbers understand the picture and be more comfortable and responsible in the decisions they're making. So that's the general of, and I actually think what's in the audit reports, that's the level of detail that will get most of the way there.
So that's what is a great tool then. I can show you how to make them.
Cool. And I may have some questions about how, like the way the state buckets them for the auditing, it's more granular for us. Like, for example, the parking, that's something that I'm only guessing rolls up into other services. I can't remember the exact category, but when there's a material change, when something moves, that's when you break it out into something that you can track and see. And yeah, but yeah, that'll be great.
Does the state have any kind, this is just a general thing, benchmarks compare, like, I don't know, when I worked at for-profit companies, when we had to compare different units, we would benchmark and so I can compare them to how they're performing versus the benchmark.
And a good example is that report that came out in 2011. There was so much revenue that came in because of construction that was here today, gone tomorrow. And if you don't understand numbers and know the history of the town, and you see we have all this income, you think, great, we're fine. That construction ends, that revenue is gone. And we've made decisions thinking that revenue is going to continue.
Right.
So that's where I'm at.
I don't think that
They
the
don't.
state has that. And I think that was sort of brought up when we were in the training, and they talked about some of the things that they look out for, but they're not saying, oh, you're doing good in your parking compared to minimal.
Right.
That's just not what their role is.
Okay.
I think
Just looking legal.
I think the metric you brought forward about months of reserves is about the best.
Right.
And that's where seeing how it breaks down can help. Like, okay, how would it affect our reserves if we, added this service or subtracted that one, or we got more revenue from this, or this revenue goes down. That kind of thing.
Okay, well, back to the police report. I think too, if we do anything, it would be something we do for next year. I mean, this is because we got a lot of work to do here with the new person coming on board and training and all. So if we do anything, it's like in April or.
Yeah, and I'm not certain what that is. So
I just wanted to talk about it.
I'm not so sure that you might, once we get this number 9 nailed down, that you might not find that number 8
Would be covered
is
then.
covered in number 9.
Okay. All right.
yeah,
All right. Let's move to number 9.
and I think that might be the thing. I think we are talking about number 9. And that's the other thing is if the town could produce like a very broad, brief annual report, kind of the state of where we are. And I've seen other towns have that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be extensive or big, but just has that snapshot. And from the 2019 numbers, I can actually produce now. I'll probably need to ask you a couple questions to make sure I'm interpreting it correctly, but to do the basic snapshot type of thing that people can see. Oh gosh, X percentage comes from this type of revenue, that kind of revenue.
One thing I would like is if there's a way to show our residents how important tourist dollars are to this town. There's people here that have no concept.
Well, I believe in presenting numbers that don't lead to conclusions, but I think that when people see the numbers, they will draw their own. And if it turns out that, these items that relate to tourism are bigger, then that's the conclusion they can come to.
Well, there's people here that I talk to them and they don't understand why we have all these tourists here.
Well, if they don't understand it, putting in a paragraph, when you're talking to them, putting in a paragraph, I don't think it's going to change that. I
And
mean, that's going to come from.
there's a
people.
particular graph I have in mind.
Well, about
I'll produce
80% of our revenue comes from tourism. I mean,
There's a graph I have in mind that I've produced for other purposes that I think will be useful. And it's more for anybody to look at, they can draw their own conclusions. I'll produce that just from 2019, since that's the last audited version of the numbers, for us to look at and decide if that's a tool that we'd be comfortable sharing with the public.
and even in something that is simple enough, they can be put into the newsletter.
It's super
Just,
simple.
And I would also
Simple.
suggest that for 2020 and 2021, you should be able to take the financials that we submit to the state audit's office. They're essentially the same as the audit report.
Yeah, if you're
And do
comfortable
that.
with using those numbers.
I think that's easy. And
That'd be
if that's, I mean, the thing that's nice about that is that you're, first of all, for the stuff that is audited, you're reading stuff that's audited.
Yes,
Secondly, it's a format that's uniform.
yes,
And then once things are audited for years of data that you might be putting in that isn't audited, then it's an easy change to
Yes.
something that is official.
yes,
So I think that's better even than trying to pull something out of QuickBooks that then
yes,
could be changing as time goes on
Mhm.
because of different lines of income that then get categorized differently in the audit report. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
and this is
And
my,
it's also all information that's publicly available in the
Yes.
format in which you are going to compile, in which you compile it.
and in annual reports, I think those are it's probably not more than 3 graphs. This one I'm thinking of is a box graph, and then a couple of bar charts. And then if there are particular material changes, for example, parking has suddenly, like over the 3 years, you can do a special that illustrates that just for that report to say, here's a material change in the town's finances.
Right.
And you just presenting the numbers, you're not drawing conclusions for people, but just so that they know this is a material change. And that's all.
Right.
And that's the one that, I'll need to ask you about, to go deeper, since it's not a standard number that appears in the audit report.
Yeah, that's not, once I know what I'm chasing, it's not hard. Yeah,
Cool. That'd be awesome. Yeah, just point me out.
so I'll show you how to do it. Yeah, I'll show you today.
Awesome.
So I don't know if we need a new motion on that or just kind of it's just taking our numbers and just.
Yeah.
Just
Just
redo
formally
them,
how we're gonna get
reformulate
there.
it.
Yeah.
And the other key part is I need to be sure that, I'm still relatively new to this, that I'm presenting things truly and that the numbers
Sure,
are.
yeah, we can look at that together and just make sure that it makes sense what you've got. Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
All right.
with that, do you want to make a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second. Adjourn. All right. And meeting is